Ukraine on fire, Bitcoin, and yes, more tariffs. This is Trump This Week, and today we discuss. Another week, and yes, another set of news from the President of the United States that gives us a lot to talk about and also a lot to do strategies around if you are a traveler, an investor, a citizen of the world, whatever might be the case. So it's hard to keep up, but we just try to we try to do it here, and that's why today we bring you, as every week, the top 5 news from Trump this week. So let's start. Well, the number one is yet again in Ukraine, that the war is heating up over there, of course, after a lot of back and forth. Right now, sadly for the Ukrainians, the Russians are getting some initiative. They are, escalating their operations, and apparently they are being able to take some, a little bit more ground on Ukrainian soil. That happened first because this week Trump cut basically every military cooperation, supplies, and so on. But also, and this is key, he cut intelligence that they share with the Ukrainian forces, and those were terrible news for the Ukrainian efforts on the battlefield. And Russia has been able to take advantage of this particular situation, and they apparently are making some progress on Ukrainian soil. So, having said that, Zelensky, apparently, he said that, okay, he apologized privately, and he is ready to sign a deal with the US, the ceasefire, also the mineral deal. So basically, Zelensky is cooperating 100%, apparently. Having said that, the Trump administration, according to some reports, the Trump administration is reaching opposition leaders within Ukraine. I'm talking political opposition to Zelensky. The former president Poroshenko and this particular lady, I forgot her name, but I'm going to put her here. And now, the issue with those particular individuals is that they publicly have a stand against celebrating elections within Ukraine until the war ends. So, on that regard, they are on the same page with Zelensky. Privately, it might not be the case. Now, the other issue, and I'm not an expert on Ukrainian politics, but apparently those individuals are actually more anti-Russia and more pro-Europe than Zelensky himself. Those are their political positions. So that wouldn't help the further negotiations with Russia in order to make a deal, a ceasefire, something like that. And actually, yet again, I'm not an expert on Ukrainian politics. When the election on 2019, I believe, that Zelensky got elected, actually, Zelensky was the more moderate candidate regarding the Russian situation. He speaks fluently Russian, and also back then he was an entertainer, a comedian, something like that. And he actually worked in Moscow, and he collaborated with several Russian, TV and movie productions, things like that. So I don't know if that is gonna help. I'm just giving you the info that I have from what I can tell. But apparently, that's what is going on right now. But lastly, and here's the silver lining for Ukraine, is that actually, according to Trump, and here is the post from Truth Social, Trump apparently he's not as pleased of these military gains that Russia is making right now, and he is threatening Russia with way more sanctions if they don't, stop the military escalation and go back to the negotiation table. So, something in order to close this particular segment with Ukraine, the narrative is that Trump is pro-Russian, is friends with Putin, and things like that. And some people even say that he's a Russian asset, something like that. I won't confirm or deny that. I don't work on intelligence or something like that. But actually, the facts compared to the narratives is that Trump is actually the president that has sanctioned the most Russia. And that was said first by Putin himself. But if you fact check this particular, this particular situation, actually that is true. Trump, on his first administration, he was the president of the United States that has sanctioned the most Russia. So that goes against the narrative. And the second thing, and that was brought during this particular feud with Zelensky on the White House last week, is that Trump himself, one of the things that when they were fighting, when he was fighting with Zelensky, that he said, Obama gave you blankets, I give you javelins, so the missiles. And that is also true. Trump started the arming Ukraine in order to protect against Russia. Back then, that was way before the war started. And actually, those missiles were the ones that Ukrainians used in order to keep Kiev from Russian hands. So, a couple of things, I'm just mentioning here, just doing my research. Fun, not necessarily fun, but interesting facts about this particular feud between Ukraine and Russia and the involvement of Trump. Number two is tariffs. Yes, and way more tariffs. We know that Trump actually threatened both Canada and Mexico with 25% tariffs to each country. Also, 10% tariffs against China that were added another 10%, so it's 20% now on tariffs against China, and the 25% tariffs on steel and aluminum to the rest of the world. Very good. So on Tuesday this week, those sanctions against Canada and Mexico took fully effect. So, and the markets reacted, the market has been a roller coaster this week. The S&P, the Nasdaq, the Dow, the US dollar, basically every asset. So there has been a lot of movement here. Let's see the chart this week from the S&P. That hasn't been great, but actually the close on Friday was kind of positive. Okay, so we have been on this stance of tariffs, and however, on Thursday, according to Trump, he had a nice call with both the Mexican President Sheinbaum and the Canadian President Trudeau, and most of the tariffs will be placed on hold. So right now, they are not in effect. However, the tariffs against China, so fully 20%, and the tariffs on steel and aluminum remain in effect. Also, China, that usually doesn't have this particular, this narrative, this rhetoric being very strong. Usually they are more, art of war, more philosophical. Well, this week they just throw that out of the window, say, basically said, if you want war, motherfucker, we're going to have war. And pardon my French, but I mean, that's the sentiment that I got from the Chinese here. Let's read the tweet from the Chinese delegation. So, I mean, it was, even Chinese people are hilarious, well, that's when you have to worry about on this rhetoric. So, yet again, this is news on the move. And, well, I'm not a journalist. I'm an analyst, but I'm a consultant. But this is something that I have to keep up day by day. I mean, And just I'm gonna put, make a segue. I never had to do so much following on real time on so many issues that it's hard to keep up. But well, I love my job, and I love to sharing this particular piece of content with you. Number three is Bitcoin. And yes, the so mentioned strategic Bitcoin reserve is actually going to be full in effect. Just on Friday, President Trump signed an executive order for a digital asset strategic reserve, something like 4 NOCs, but for Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. So basically, this particular strategic digital asset reserve will start with already owned assets by the federal government that are around 200,000 bitcoins. So those are, are several billion US dollars on today's market price of Bitcoin. And but apparently there won't be immediate purchases of Bitcoin right now, just on the near future. Now time flies with Trump, but also will be a separate strategic reserve for other crypto assets like Ethereum, XRP, Solana, Cardano, that also have been impounded by the US government against drug traffickers and criminals and money launderers and people like that, they're already in custody by federal authorities. So, but the biggest thing is that right now, the government, the US government, won't make further purchases until further notice. And that's a little bit surprising, but still, if you are a crypto guy, things are headed on the right direction. And lastly, regarding this particular Bitcoin reserve and crypto reserve, is that there are a lot of critics saying that it's not a necessity compared to, let's say, the strategic petroleum reserve, that is a necessity, a commodity that, of course, the US economy and every economy needs, and the gold reserve, of course, for monetary reasons, and so on. And right now, the US will join El Salvador with the only countries with a sovereign federal Bitcoin reserve. Number four is the issue with Gaza. Yes, we have to talk. First, we had this particular video from Trump making, a luxurious, basically, facility within Gaza. It's called Trump Gaza, and it's gonna be very luxurious, something like Dubai, Abu Dhabi, things like that, within Gaza, but also will include removing the Palestinians from the Gaza Strip. Okay, so the video had a lot of repercussions worldwide. So let's say not many people were fans of this particular, piece of content made by AI, Trump in the beach with Bibi, also Elon Musk and Trump's golden statue. And okay, take it as you please. Now, going to more serious issues within Gaza, is that Trump released an ultimatum this week against Hamas regarding the hostages that still are on Hamas custody, and he wants them now. But apparently, we got another news that the Trump administration is directly negotiating with Hamas in order to get, let's cut a deal in order to get the hostages, or at least a handful of the remaining hostages from the October 7 issue, the event, as you want to call it. So, anyways, things on Gaza are still a lot of going on over there. And lastly, thanks to the reaction from several Muslim countries that are U.S. allies, like Saudi Arabia, they come up with a rebuilding effort of their own in order to avoid the Trump-Gaza thing. So they're gonna put their own money. They're gonna move things around within, the territory of Gaza. They're gonna put the refugees in what side, and they're gonna rebuild the whole strip on blocks, and they're gonna use their own money. So sounds like a nice plan from the Arab nations. They are led by MBS, Mohammed bin Salman, the Prince of Saudi Arabia. And for the people of Gaza, well, looks great. And also they have, most of these countries have good relationships with Israel. So looks good on paper. Let's see what happens. And number 5, we have a potential travel ban from the nationals of several countries that won't be able to travel to the United States. This hasn't been confirmed, but it was a news released by the New York Times that apparently the several nationalities won't be able to travel to the United States. Will be Iran, Libya, Somalia, Yemen, North Korea, and Venezuela. And this set of countries, the nationals from these countries, won't be able to travel to the United States. Trump, on the past, has tried to impose these particular travel bans. First, it was a Muslim ban, countries with Muslim majority population. It was repealed by a federal court and then kind of put in March. So right now the logistics and things like that, and also has to be approved by the Secretary of State and Homeland Security and things like that. So right now we don't know if it is true. Most likely it is, but the application and the implementation for legal and logistical issues that won't be how will be implemented or how long will be implemented or if will be implemented. So a lot of question marks. Of course, we're going to keep track on this in order to see if traveling to the US it will be more complicated. Actually, the experience that I had during the Trump's first administration, it was way harder to travel. I mean, just as a tourist to the United States, more, let's say, more discrimination when you reach the airport and customs and the TSA and things like that. So it's usually harder to travel if you are an international travel to the United States. And also there is a lot of randomness and arbitrary things going on when Trump is president compared to the Democrats. I remember when Biden took office, became way easier to go to customs and things like that. But anyways, let's see what happens. And of course, we are gonna have it here. We're gonna keep up with these issues that we all get affected. Thank you for watching Continental Insider. Please like, share, and subscribe. Follow us on social media. And if you want to work with us, continentalinsider.com. Thanks again, and have a nice day.